What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 115 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk to you about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And today's episode is brought to you by IQ Power Tools. They manufacture a comprehensive range of innovative power tools with integrated dust collection systems. Check out their products at iqpowertools.com. And in today's episode, I just wanted to sit down, talk about the season, talk about numbers. We've had a couple of guests on recently, Michael C. Stone on the previous episode, as well as Greg Crabtree. Talk about numbers to us and talk about their books. Greg Crabtree is the author of Simple Numbers 2.0 as well as the first one, Simple Numbers. And Michael C. Stone is the author of Markup and Profit, both books that we recommend at howtohardscape.com/books, as well as concepts that they discuss in there are excellent and really build upon, if you've read Profit First for Contractors by Sean Van Dyke, who we've also had on the show. These, in my opinion, are kind of the next step up in books once you've kind of accomplished that profit and decided where you want to go in your business when it comes to knowing your numbers and beyond. And we also have a big announcement at the end of this episode. If you're looking for video content, I'll show you where to go at the end of this episode. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. First off, I just wanted to say thank you to listening to the How to Hardscape podcast, sharing it wherever you can, and even providing feedback to me. Lots of feedback comes through Instagram. We're at How to Hardscape there, as well as at I Am a Hardscaper. Two accounts that I've been getting a lot of feedback from people in terms of episode content, questions about what the guests talked about, as well as suggestions for future episodes. So I really do appreciate those DMs. I respond to everyone that messages me, and I really do appreciate that. I also want to say, because I don't sit down and do one of these episodes where I'm just speaking directly to you often, I just wanted to see how everyone's season has been going. I've in my own business been struggling with the product shortages now, and this is where we've got a few jobs open, and we're kind of juggling that product delays and moving on from there. But things have been going smoothly up until this point. I can't really talk negatively about how the season has been going. My very first project of the season was a little bit of a difficult one. It took us longer than it should have, and and it's not a client that I would do another project for. I'll just leave it at that. But ever since then, ever since we got over that hump, it's been full steam ahead. We've been doing a lot of great projects this season, as I have been transferring my business and pivoting away from a lift and relay business to a more design build business. We've been doing a lot of really cool projects this season so far that I'm proud to showcase with my business, to add to that portfolio and to move forward in that direction and to continue to grow my business that way. As I discussed in a previous episode talking about my story, I believe it was episode 99, that I talked about that, if you want to learn more about my story there. But continuing on here, we have been talking a lot about knowing your numbers since starting this podcast, and even in the last couple of weeks here, we've had a couple guests on that we talked about in the intro there, talking about numbers, talking about profit, markup, sales, everything to do with numbers, and to get a better grasp of it. Now, when it comes to having guests on this show, I do my best to vet the guests that we have on our show to know that they've kind of come from a past of doing what they're talking about and implementing that, as well as their kind of authorities in that space. And I felt that Greg Crabtree and Michael C. Stone were two guests that not only are authors, but also come from a background of construction, of contracting, that I felt they were perfect guests to bring on the show. Greg Crabtree doesn't come actually from that background, but his accounting background really helps him to coach businesses of a wide variety of industries. And as he said, he kind of focuses on that blue collar world, so to speak. So I do think it's important to understand who the advice is coming from, to provide that context as to where that advice is coming from and being provided to you, So really listening with a critical ear and being able to take that advice and apply it to your own business in your own personal life is an important part of listening to the guests that we have on the show and listening to the advice that you receive wherever that might be. I really think that understanding that type of context and being able to take advice and understand whether or not that fits into your business or into your personal life or into your goals that you've set, and or even adjusting that advice to fit into your business and lifestyle. I think this is really important when it comes to listening and receiving advice. Two guests that spoke and had some excellent ideas around growing a business, around knowing your numbers better and what you can do with those numbers. I really felt it's a great progression from going from Sean Van Dyke's profit first for contractors to really get a grasp of taking your profit first and ensuring that your business is making that profit, but then taking that step forward and reading simple numbers and profit and markup and really understanding what you can do with that profit and what kind of business you can build once you have that profit coming in. Now, it's really important that profit is everything above and beyond your business, including yourself. So owner salary is not included in that profit. When it comes to your budget and taking an owner's salary, your actual salary might vary depending on what you budgeted for, but you need to budget a reasonable amount for your salary. If your accountant tells you to take a less salary and take draws from the business to whatever that advice might be, whatever you're putting into your budget, it needs to be an amount that you could reasonably replace yourself with. So factor in all the different jobs that you do in the business, what all your job titles are, whether that be part-time and full-time, and what could you get in your market to be able to replace all of these different jobs. And that's part-time jobs. There might be a full-time job, whatever that might be. All the different titles that we carry, that should be what you are budgeting in terms of your owner's salary. Whatever you're paying yourself, whatever your accountants told you, that's fine. Stick to a professional's advice when it comes to that actual salary amount. But for your budget, that needs to be reflecting an amount that is reasonable, because you do not want to sell yourself short, especially as the owner, especially as somebody that's taking on all of the risk when it comes to owning your business. Profit is a return on investment in being a business owner and the risk that we take. I like to say that in the stock market, on average, an average return, of course, this is an average, so based on ever many years, like an 8% average return on investment is a good average to go about things if you're investing in some sort of tax advantaged retirement plan, savings account, whatever it may be. Now, some years that might go up, some years that might go down, but as an average, that's 8%. We should be beating that with our business. Like 8% is the absolute minimum that you should be trying to make in your business. If you can carry no risk and put your money into a broad range index fund and earn that 8%, you should be able to earn more than that 8% in your business if you have so much risk as a business owner. So that 8% is an absolute bare minimum to make as a business owner, especially in our field, in our industry. And now profit is yours to do whatever you want with. Some people choose to invest that back into their business, whatever you want. But if you have to put it back into your business, that's not profit. That's covering an overhead expense, or that's buying a piece of equipment because you have to. But if you want to invest back into your business, whether that's with your salary or the profits from the business, then that is not profit. If you have to use a portion of the profit to be able to make your salary for that month, that is not profit. If you have to use part of your profit to pay off a piece of equipment or make that piece of equipment's payment for the month, that is not profit. Which brings us to talking about tax at the end of the year. At this point in my business, I'm looking at where I am financially, as well as every other week, at least in my business, where I am financially and deciding what I'm going to do coming to the end of the year and then moving forward into next year, looking at that budget, seeing how my goals went and being flexible and adjusting that budget for the end of the year, especially into next year, because we're already pricing jobs for next year. And we want to make sure that those jobs reflect our updated budget and our goals for next year. So ahead of schedule, I'm already looking at my budget for next year and sort of trying to forecast that as best I can to be able to price those jobs for next year. Then when next year comes, I'm going to reevaluate that budget, see if I want to update any of those goals in my business and adjust accordingly. So budgeting comes first for me in setting goals and being flexible with that plan. And at this time of year, I'm adjusting those goals or adjusting that budget and seeing what I can do coming into the end of the season and for next year. But when it comes to making end of the year purchases, if you're just starting out in business, making an end of the year purchase isn't necessarily the best thing to do if it's primarily to lower your taxes. If you're just starting out, you are likely incurring a lot of expenses as is, which is already going to lower your tax bill when it comes to purchasing equipment, those startup costs, whatnot. But if you're only earning money in that primary tax bracket, lowering the money that you earn on paper by purchasing something at the end of the year is not the most beneficial way to go about it. It's better to push that off to maybe next year when you'll be into the next tax bracket and you want to lower your tax bill, then to bring it down to the primary tax bracket where you'll be paying less money in taxes in that first tax bracket as opposed to being in that next step up or the next step after that. So though a purchase at the end of the year will lower your tax bill this year, it's best to go to an accountant and see what they say and also bring this up to them as well, because lowering your tax bill may not be the most beneficial thing for you to do in the initial years of starting up your business when perhaps you're in that lower tax bracket because of those startup costs. So it's not saving you. It'll come back to bite you. At the end of the day, paying taxes is not a bad thing. It just means that you're making money and your business is making money as it should be for you and for the business. And this was actually covered in Greg Crabtree's interview as well. And it's something that kind of resonated with me. Now, tax laws are going to vary everywhere, and this is not a tax advice. Always seek out a professional for this advice, but you can also lower your tax bill personally through other methods and diversifying your income that's coming in as opposed to putting all your money into your business. And that might be something that you want to look into as well. And that advice might not be applicable to everyone and how they have their business structured. But for those that needed to hear that whole discussion of taxes and deciding to make end of the year purchases, I just want to set up a discussion of making smart purchases and not purchases because you want something new and shiny in your business, but understanding that it's the end of the year. You went 52 weeks without that piece of equipment. Are you actually going to need that for next year? Are you actually going to be using it for next year? Set your budget, set your goals, and then make your purchases accordingly, whether it is at the end of this year to lower your tax bill for this year, or if you're pushing it off until next year to purchase that piece of equipment to lower that tax bill then, whenever it might be, whatever it might be. I just want to take a moment from today's episode to thank IQ Power Tools for being a sponsor of today's episode. This episode is brought to you by IQ Power Tools, the firm that builds smart, tough, award-winning, clean-cut concrete and masonry power tools that eliminate dust. Eliminating dust from your job site is smart, it saves time, it saves money, and it saves lives. Keep your job sites safe and healthy for you and your crew, as well as the neighbors and the homeowner around you, and look professional while you're on the job site with these IQ Power Tools dust eliminating systems. Visit them at iqpowertools.com and learn how to implement healthier and more efficient work practices for your next project. And give them a thanks on their social channels at IQ Power Tools for sponsoring the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode. And then in addition to that, I really feel like debt is a subject that has been coming up often in these interviews. And it's something that is really important to talk about because debt is not going to save you or your business. It's the wrong way to use debt if you're using it to save yourself, to save something. You really want to focus on, and going back to profit first for contractors, you really want to get profitable, get your numbers right, really understand your numbers, get your marketing and leads right before you use debt to grow and move your business forward, to push your business forward. It should be used as a tool to be able to do that and not relied upon to keep your business afloat. Once you're past that stage, it's not a bad idea to take on a reasonable amount of debt if need be, and if that suits your risk level. I myself in my business do not have any debt. I chose not to go that way. I'm not recommending that you go get debt, but if debt is a pathway that you're pursuing, I really suggest that you go about that responsibly and really understand the implications of taking on debt, especially moving forward, going from a season where we've seen all-time highs in terms of installations, in terms of demand. It's not going to continue like this moving forward. It doesn't mean that that's reason to let up on the gas at all, but it's just being able to forecast the years moving forward and really trying to adjust as need be in your business to be able to meet the demand at a reasonable rate, whatever that might be for you and for the debt that you're willing to take on. Again, this really comes down to risk tolerance. It really comes down to personal and as well as personal goals, and to grow your business to get to the stage that you want it to be. And when it comes to knowing your numbers, labor has been an important topic, and it's going to continue to be an important topic moving forward. Labor cost is only going to go up. And this is just one tool that we can use to be able to attract and retain employees. And since it's going up, and since it's going to go up considerably over time, as the labor market becomes more and more difficult to draw from, and as we can do other things like investing in our business to take the burden out of being a laborer or being somebody in the hardscape industry, and to invest in that equipment, we can use that as a tool to attract and retain employees. But talking about the cost associated with the labor, since it's going up, since it's only going to continue to go up, your prices should be reflecting that now in your pricing to be able to attract those employees for next year and the year after that. So prices need to be able to reflect these things in your business so that you are making that money that you need to be able to attract and retain these employees for the long term and moving forward in your business. Which brings us to pricing jobs, and the materials associated with pricing those jobs are continuing to go up in some cases, and we're getting those emails from suppliers, from manufacturers saying prices are going up. Being able to be flexible in your pricing, that you can pass on that cost of those materials so that you're not biting the bullet on those. But also in terms of pricing jobs, one topic that I want to talk about here that came up in both of those interviews that I've already referenced in this episode is the idea of pricing jobs on market versus cost-based. So market would be pricing jobs based on comparing your business to the other businesses in your direct market. And Greg Crabtree actually was one that was in great favor of market pricing your jobs, whereas Michael C. Stone talked about cost-based and based on your costs in your business, pricing your jobs. And actually in our budget and estimate spreadsheet on howtohardscape.com that you're able to go check out, howtohardscape.com, go check out the budget and estimate spreadsheet as well as job costing add-on that's there. We use that cost-based approach, and we use that for a specific reason in our business because it helps us set our budget based on our goals moving forward, and to associate those costs and to allot them to every estimate, every quote that is going out to our clients. And the reason why I'm in favor of a cost-based approach is because it's really based also on market. Because when I think about this, I think that a company that's just working out of a pickup truck as compared to a company that is a full-fledged design, build, multiple setups, those two companies are not in the same market. Even though they might be servicing a similar marketplace, they're just not in the same market in terms of where they're at in their business. And that also reflects in their costs, because the company just operating out of their pickup truck, their costs are going to be much lower, meaning possibly their pricing the job might be a little bit lower than that major setup company that has all the equipment and people that they may need. That would be my market versus cost-based analysis when it comes to those, and comparing those two as well. Don't get me wrong, I do think it's a really good idea to see where you're priced at in your marketplace, to know that you are not lowballing the competition and you're pricing yourself according to your experience, to the costs associated in your business, and the budget that you set in terms of your goals moving forward in your business. With a cost-based approach to be able to price jobs, you also really have a better grasp of where your business stands in terms of the costs, and knowing that those costs are being allocated to each job that's going out, each estimate that's going out, each quote that's going out, and you're able to set goals and really incorporate costs in the future into that budget, into each quote that goes out, to know that you're growing in your business at the pace that you want to grow, and you're able to control that growth. And while staying on that cost approach pricing method, job costing itself is also a very important thing to be doing, to be able to evaluate the actual numbers from a job and compare those to the estimated or the quoted numbers for that job, to see what went right, what went wrong. I had a job that this year I had some realizations in terms of our efficiency and where that was slipping on our projects and where we could be better, because I take copious notes on production rates on each step of the project to be able to compare that to previous jobs and to see where we can improve, what equipment we can purchase to fill voids, or things that we can do to be able to better our business and to increase our efficiency. And that allows us to take on more jobs in a year. And we use products to be able to do that. We use equipment to be able to do that. And I've already started to set my goals for next year to be able to improve my efficiency. And that means those costs are already being allocated to projects this year, because it might be equipment that we're renting already. And in addition to that, I want to be pricing myself already this year and into next year as if I am already that company with that cost, and to be able to grow into that, as opposed to being reactionary, purchasing a piece of equipment and then putting into my cost-based pricing jobs, and then the next few jobs that I had lined up that already, the estimates and the quotes that already went out for those didn't account for that cost of equipment, and then I'm already behind on those payments essentially with my overhead expenses, which means that comes out of my profit, and that means that we're less profitable than I should be starting from that point. So that is where we use that cost-based pricing method and budget our goals for the year, budget accordingly, be flexible with those goals, be flexible with that budget, and having a plan coming into the ending of this year and into next year, and setting that plan forward in our budget. And that's why we created the budget and estimate spreadsheet with the job costing add-on on howtohardscape.com. That's why we put it up there, because we think it's a really valuable tool if you want to go check that out. But ultimately, that is how we know our numbers better, with those production rates, with that job costing, with that cost-based approach to pricing our jobs. I'd love to know what everyone else thinks about that, what everyone else thinks about what was discussed in this episode. More episodes coming every Monday on the How to Hardscape podcast, as well as, and this is the special announcement, we have launched our I Am a Hardscaper YouTube channel, which takes videos that I've taken this year as well as many other years that were less formal, and putting those into video content formats. So if you want hardscape content, especially if you're just starting in this industry or wanting to start in this industry, We already have about 12 videos up there, and we're going to be releasing 2 a week. That's Monday and Wednesday. New videos are going to come out on that channel. We've got a lot of great videos lined up, as well as job site visits with contractors in our area. So we are happy to announce that you can go check out the I Am a Hardscaper YouTube channel. Go check out those 12 videos. Give us a subscribe. Give us some likes and comments. Help us get that rolling, because I've got a lot of great ideas lined up to move forward with this channel. And if you'd want to support us, that would be awesome, just like you've done so with this podcast. If you found this podcast valuable, if you want to continue to support us, go there on our YouTube channel and show us some support. And thank you for showing us the support of listening to today's episode, all the other episodes on the How to Hardscape podcast. And thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Visit us at howtohardscape.com for more information on knowing your numbers and lots of great articles there. We are going to hit about 100 articles by the end of the year on this howtohardscape.com. So if you haven't checked out those articles, that's another great resource to go check out. We'd love it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I Am a Hardscaper on YouTube, and that really helps us get the traction going with that, and to attract more great guests for not only this podcast, but also for people to have on the YouTube channel, to get that going and to get job site visits going. So thank you for your support, and we look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.